All right, so today we're going to talk about the brand new balance changes, including a much anticipated and possibly overdue one for Wild. So let's check those out. So this is our fancy patch. Overall, they're pretty happy with meta diversity in standard, and they're looking at tackling some outliers. The first one, and maybe the biggest one, is they're doing a big update for the Death Knight cards. So all Death Knight cards with any 3 rune requirement, Frost, 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 Blood, Frost, Unholy, etc., are now removed from all discover pools and random generation effects. So if it has 3 runes, period, any combination thereof, it cannot be discovered. So like Frostworm's Fury, Climactic, Necrotic, Potato, Vampiric Blood, all that stuff can't be discovered at all. I think what a lot of people were expecting was that the discover change was going to be you can't discover outside of your own runes. On paper, that's an interesting change, right? Because Death Knight has subclasses, so they should only be able to discover from their subclass, right? But in reality, what it is Death Knight's a new class. Its discover pool is small and powerful. And if you make it so that they can only discover from their rune requirements, their discover pool is even more small and powerful. So it would be incredibly consistent. That change was literally never happening. I think just the existence of triple rune cards is like the problem with that is really expressed with these. When the Death Knight rune system was released, I was expecting a cool thing to be able to build around with, like do 1 Frost, 2 Unholy type of things to toy around with, but that hasn't been the case at all so far. It's been like you're all in on Blood, all in on Frost, all in on Unholy. So I think it really has for me, it's been a huge disappointment. So I'm sad about that. And the problem with it is the triple rune cards. The triple rune cards are too powerful of payoffs that stick you in the same restriction, and you can tell because they're too strong to be discovered. So it would be nice if they were powered down and lost to runes so that like you could actually toy around with the Death Knight class instead of it just being 3 subclasses. I'm gonna be sad that I can't discover Vampiric Blood anymore, but I think it's gonna be nice that Frostworm's Fury can't be discovered anymore. So there's that. Moving on, Rowdy Fan. So used to give +4 attack while alive, now gives only +3 attack while alive. And so Rowdy Fan has gotten a lot of attention in combination with Letty's Theno, a powerful combo at high levels of play, but even outside of that combo, it's a card that is a bit too effective at its rate, which makes sense, especially in like Frost Decay, which already has a lot of burst, was still running this for burst. So that should tell you something about it. Seems like a good change. Overseer Frigidera used to be 5 attack and 6 health, now is 3 attack and 6 health. So Death Knight has several strong decks, and Frost DK stands out as the strongest of the bunch. We wanted to shave a bit more power off of it by bringing one of its best cards more in line with the rest of the deck. So this is going to be a little bit less of a threat all on its own, which makes sense to me, but won't affect Wild at all. Speaking of affecting Wild, we have Twig of the World Tree. Death Rattle was gain 10 mana crystals. Death Rattle is now refresh your mana crystals. So Twig of the World Tree is the best card in a really good deck, leading to some frustrating play experiences in Wild right now. The interaction between Twig of the World Tree and Sphere of Sapience didn't exist when Twig was first printed, so this change is to curb this card's power level and bring it back closer to the original play pattern. So when you play Twig of the World Tree and Sphere on 5 before, you would immediately go to 10 mana. Now if you do that, you're going to have 5 mana. This doesn't actually ramp you anywhere, it just refreshes you mana crystals. And what I've seen already, like this patch has been announced for like 2 seconds, and what I've already seen a bunch of is, well, it's a buff because at 20 mana you're getting 20 mana instead of 10 mana. Like if you're Guff and you got to 20 mana, first of all, you've already won the game. All right, it doesn't matter what you choose to do at 20 mana. It's already over. You win. Congratulations. But Kun and Omu already exist with that effect. And those are, you only need 1 card for those. You just need the Omu or the Kun. And like Omu, I guess, requires a spell, but you run a bunch of spells regardless. You just play any of them. So like if this type of effect was good, it would have been used already in these type of decks. And it's not good just because it's unnecessary. So this is a strict nerf. This card is deleted. This does nothing. It's not like quite deleted because I think Tony Druid would still play it, right? Like they use it to refresh They don't use it to ramp. So if you enjoyed Twig and don't want to dust it and like Tony Druid, well, there you go. Okay, so then that was the nerfs. We're going on to some buffs. We have Rockmaster Voon was 4 mana, is now 3, which means it can be played in Odd Warrior. Verse Rift was 2 mana, is now 1, which means it can now be played in Odd Warrior. Bridge Rift was 6 mana and is now 5, which means it can now be played in Odd Warrior. Power Slider is just gaining a little bit of attack and health. Shield Block was 3 mana and is now 2, which means it can no longer be played in Odd Warrior. So this is, I think, the strongest. So despite the fact that the Odd Warrior enthusiasts are losing their Shield Block, this is actually, I think, the most interesting warrior buff of the bunch, because like 2 mana for Shield Block is really good, right? So you just run that in a regular deck that would want to run Shield Shatter. You could run it in even, but I think that's more for the fun of it than anything else. So yeah, I'm excited to play with that, but I'll probably end up building Riff Odd Warrior first. Fright and Flunky is gaining a health, which will make it actually kind of a decent minion on, like, yes, that's good now, right? Like, probably not in Wild, but in Standard, you play 2 mana, 2/3, discover another thing. It's not bad at all with Taunt on it. Then we have Turbo Sherba. So Turbo Sherba used to be whenever you'd cast so Death Rattle will go dormant, and then you cast a fire spell and it comes back, but you were limited to 2 times. Now you can do it forever. So as long as you have fire spells to play, you can get your 4/4 back. Warrior had 2 major themes this expansion, Menagerie and Rifts. Neither of them landed at the level we were hoping for at launch. We're buffing these Festival of Legends cards to give those themes a chance. We're also buffing some older cards to help support the class generally. Shield Block is a card we hope can become a definitional, powerful card that represents what Warrior is about. We'll continue to monitor the class after these adjustments to determine if further changes are needed down the line. Well, very good. Then we have Infinitize the Maxitude. Is going from discover a spell, finale, return this to your hand at the end of the turn, to discover a spell, reduce its cost by 1, and then return it to your hand at the end of the turn. So that makes me feel like this card is good now. It's like it's a worse glyph on its own, but it's a glyph that you can use forever. Man, it is just a worse glyph on its own. And glyph isn't a card we're running. So you have to cast this twice before it's better than Glyph. Maybe this still stinks in Wild. The Ramoth Quest Mage is, that's coins and ice blocks that it discovers. So I don't know that it wants random as much, but maybe this is all right just because it on its own, given enough time, will complete the quest. Audio Splitter is going from a 3 mana 4 attack 3 health minion to a 2 mana 3 attack 2 health minion. So 2 mana 3/2, copy the highest cost spell in your hand. I actually think this is slightly interesting for Mech Mage because they're running the 2 spells, right? They run Super Special Submarine Time. I don't know what that card's called. What is that card called? Or Book of Specters, right? Gateway, thank you. Oh, it's like Seafloor Gateway, right? So you're only running a couple spells and they're really powerful. And you want to cast them both as many times as you can. So you prefer Super Special Submarine Time. Oh, very good. This being like a cheap, kind of decent on curve minion now means that maybe you run this in your mech deck. I think that'll be interesting. As far as outside of that, I don't see it in Wild anyways. Spite Lash Siren is going from 5 mana 2 attack 6 health, which is what it was nerfed to, back to its original 4 mana 2 attack 5 health. So I guess this wasn't a deck in Wild, right? So this is a standard thing. TBD on whether or not that's enough to bring the deck back. Arcane Artificer is going from 1 mana 1 attack 2 health to 1 mana 1 attack 3 health. So we all know that 1 mana 1/3s are the nuts, and this seems like it would be the nuts for a slow mage deck that runs a lot of spells, but I don't know that we'll see much of that in Wild. It seems crazy for Standard, though. Mage got 2 major focuses in Festival of Legends, Light Show and DJ Monostorm. What? Wait, is there a DJ Monostorm deck in Standard? Anyways, Audio Splitter and Infinitize the Maxitude can both fit in those decks and others. We hope these changes can help open up the class. As for the reversion to Spite Lash Siren, what more can we say other than Naga Spell Naga? All right, well, there you go. All right, so Stranglethorn Heart is going from 10 mana to 8 mana. which is pretty cool because I can tell you as someone who tried for a whole stream to cast that card a single time, it's impossible. I do think that like seeing this lose 2 mana is crazy. This card is going from, there are metas where this is probably a pretty good card to include in your deck, to you definitely run this in Beast Hunter because you just play your Rhino and your Shadehound on curve, who cares? And they just play this later and you win. You win at that point. I think this is nutty. I think Beast Hunter just got a huge buff. Haldurin Brightwing. So went from give all arcane spells in your deck +1 spell damage to give all arcane spells in your hand and deck +1 spell damage. Is this enough to make Arcane Hunter real? I think it needed more arcane spells more than it needed this change, but maybe Brightwing needed this change to see play. I don't know. Like, maybe I'll probably try a Quest Hunter again. There's a lot of Hunter stuff to try out right now. So like Infinitize the Maxitude, Stranglethorn Heart is underperforming. We're giving them both buffs because we want these legendary spells to feel better to open and play. We're also buffing Haldurin to give some help to the Arcane Hunter package that has never had a chance to shine. Well, very good. Jazz Base was 3 mana for 2 attack and 2 durability, is gaining an attack for a 3/2. So Death Rattle, your next spell costs 1 less, Overload to improve. This wanted like minus a mana to see play in Wild, right? Hard to say. Like, I don't know, maybe the 1 attack ends it. Altered Chord. So used to be Lifesteal, deal 5 damage to a minion, costs 3 if you're overloaded. It is now Lifesteal, deals 6 damage to a minion, costs 3 if you're overloaded. I know that this sees play in Wild, but what's funny is right before the balance adjustments, I dusted some cards to upgrade a card, and this was one of them. I thought it would never see play. But I guess it was a pretty obvious buff target, huh? So Flow Rider was a 2 mana 3 attack 2 health, is now 1 mana 2 attack 1 health, and Battlecry, if you're overloaded, discover a spell from your deck. At 1 mana, isn't that really good? Seems nuts to me for like Frog Shaman. Lightning Storm is going from Overload 2 to Overload 1. So now that we have Lightning Storm with Overload 1, can we finally stop saying that Flurgle Toxman is the one thing standing in between Shaman having interaction with aggro or not? This card is so good now. It was pretty good before, but like, you know, like the schooling was the real like nutty Shaman anti-aggro card, but like having this at only Overload 1, that card's insane. This goes in Shutter decks now, I'm pretty sure. The new Overload deck has not performed where we wanted or expected it to, so we're giving it help with all these changes. This change to Lightning Storm also puts it better in line with the other current 3 to 4 cost AoE spells. Well, very good. Warlock getting crescendo. Was cost 3, now costs 2. Crazed Potato is going from 5 mana 4 attack 5 health to 4 mana 3 attack 4 health. So the fatigue cards are getting slightly better. I tried to play them a little bit in Wild with Demon Seed, but they felt like just beyond awful. Maybe a mana off of each of them helps. But you're probably only going to see this in Standard, if at all. Siphon Soul is going from 5 mana to 4 mana. So Priest has destroy a minion and then gain 1,000,000 health to your face and everything else on your side of the field. I don't think a single mana off Siphon Soul is enough, but who knows? This used to cost 6. Can you believe it? This has been buffed twice. I would have maybe liked to see this go up to like 4 or 5 health restoration. I think that would have been neat. I'm trying to think if I would use this in like a Reno even Warlock. Decent for a Reno even Warlock, maybe? Remember when regular Assassinate cost 6? It didn't cost 6, right? It cost 5. Warlock is one of the weakest classes in the game right now, so we're giving it some buffs to its new fatigue package. We're also bumping up Siphon Soul, which we think should help the class a little more generally. Record Scratcher used to be 2 attack, 2 durability. It is gaining an attack. MC Blingatron was a 3/4, is now going to be a 5/5. Rogue has some good decks right now, especially at higher levels. We didn't want to further strengthen those existing decks, but we did want to give them some more options for their Festival of Legends set. Record Scratcher, you know, 1 extra attack. I feel like that might actually make the difference on that one. MC Blingatron, just, you know, like it costs 5 times as much as Shadow Attendant, right? For like a worse version of that effect. So it'll be cool though. I have the signature. I'm rooting for it. Holy Nova was 4 mana, deal 2 to all enemies, restore 2 health to all friendly characters. So this is now the 3rd time this has been buffed. This was buffed by, again, a mana and, again, taking the face damage away, which is funny because when I was talking about this buff, that's the exact change I wanted, right? So the first time they buffed it, they took it down to 4 mana, but it couldn't go face. Then they buffed it again to give it its face damage back, and now they're buffing it again, taking away the face damage, but also reducing its mana by 1. Now I think this card is cool. What the other funny thing about this card is, like, think about the Dragon Volcanic Potion. So, like, Priest had to run 3 mana, deal 2 damage to the whole board, and it was awful for a while. We don't run it anymore, but it was running it for a while. And now we have, like, a way better version of that effect. So you get the deal 2 to AoE, and it heals your face a little bit. It also heals your friendly minions, but who cares in Wild about that? So yeah, like, even 2 mana off this card, it still feels like a pretty mid option, but I think in a non-Shadow Arena Priest, you could consider this, especially considering even Shaman. So even Shaman has a 2 health breakpoint. The thing is, it's not that great against, like, Pirate Rogue. Pirate Rogue is like, if you're not dealing 1, you have to deal 3 for your AoE to matter. From that standpoint, I'm not sure how good this actually is, even this buffed, but really like that change. I think it's a much more interesting card now. Right now, Priest has some powerful aggressive strategies. The adjustment is to make its other decks, Control and Overheal, more enticing. While some players were hoping for more Overheal support in this patch, Overheal is an evergreen mechanic that we hope to expect to evolve over time, including through additional future card drops instead of just adjustments to our first batch. So they're saying they don't want to overbuff it because they're planning on supporting it more as time goes on. Kiri, Chosen of Elune, is going from 4 mana to now 3 mana, which, you know, like, this card didn't see a play at all while it was in Standard, did it? Like, certainly not in Wild, because we were still all on Oaken Summons at that time, but it's just like, it wasn't an effect that was worth 4 mana. I was surprised it even, like, considering all the buffs that they did when this went into the core set, I'm surprised it didn't get a buff initially. But now it has one. Is 3 mana enough to make this effect? Maybe. Like, getting 2 cards for 1 is pretty decent at 3, also coming with a 2/2 body, and those are quality cards. So maybe at 3 mana, it's pretty right. Death Blossom Whomper is going from 6 mana to 5 mana and losing an attack and health. So Battlecry, draw a Death Rattle minion and gain its Death Rattle. I don't know what we do in Wild with this. 5 mana does seem better. The swamp, the ooze is in shambles, right? Like, it's a 5 mana 5/4, I think, the hunter one that doesn't draw it. Druid is one of the classes that has seen a lot of new Festival of Legends cards see play, and we're pretty happy with where its expansion set has landed. We're taking this opportunity to set a higher bar for the core set and to encourage more of the cool Death Rattle support this class got from Murder at Castle Nathria. Well, very good. So that about wraps things up. That was the 26.0.4 patch. A lot of warrior buffs. Hopefully that lands a cool deck in Standard. And we'll see if Wild is better off without the Twig. Let me know in the comments what you thought of all of these changes. Remember to like and subscribe for more Martian videos, and thank you so much for watching.